So Leanne, we've achieved a lot in the digital space over the last 12 months. So for example, we've now got observations in all adult inpatients in ED and in PEDS. We've hit 1 million observations now, and we now know who the sickest patient is in the hospital, and we know how the observations are taking place at the time that they should be. When you look back on that last 12 months, how do you feel about how it's gone from a nursing perspective?
I think it goes back further than that, to be honest, and that we've been talking about having vital system probably for the last 4 or 5 years. So actually getting it over the line in the last few months, going back to our previous conversations, has been amazing. So the organisation has been crying out for this for such a long time, and we're now in a position whereby it's in. And actually, it came in really easily. I'm really proud of how everybody's kind of grasped it, and that's actually given us a platform for other things now. So if you'd asked me this 12 months ago, I'd have said, oh no, we've been waiting for that for such a long time, we won't ever get there. To say that we're now there, and actually every award's able to do that, and as you say, we've done 1 million now observations. That's quite a remarkable place to be in a short space of time.
Do you remember we sat in about July 2019 talking about the digital programme, and one of your concerns was around that nursing retained the human touch. How do you feel looking back at that now?
I do remember that conversation, and actually I've been very, very pleasantly surprised that whilst we've introduced those kind of digital platforms, it's helped actually staff to recognise that they've got more time to spend time with patients, finding out more about them. So I am really, really pleased. I obviously still have concerns that as we evolve and as society evolves in terms of its digital platforms and its use, that communication will suffer. And whilst that might be okay in society, I do still have concerns that it might impact on the therapeutic relationship, because it's the relationship between the patient and the practitioner, whoever they may be. That's the bit that helps healing and confidence in practice and care, and so the art of the conversation still has to be there.
So bearing that in mind, is there anything particular that we ought to be conscious of or take a particular effort of as we go forward in the next 12 months to make sure that contact and that human relationship is maintained?
I think that's a really valuable question, and the bit about that is actually calling it out, saying that this is a concern, or this is potentially a pitfall that we can fall into, and therefore we need to be going into that with our eyes wide open and thinking, actually, how do we stop that happening? So skills training or communication training essentially has to come in place, but actually probably needs to grow. And the reason I say that is, as I said before, in terms from a societal point of view, we communicate in very different ways to how we've communicated historically. And I still have a bit of a vision, as I say, of a nurse at the end of a patient texting a patient and the patient texting back, as opposed to having that conversation. So I think knowing that, recognising that, and being able to have conversations about it is what's important, so that people, therefore, that's kind of seeds in their head about, actually, my interaction with the patient needs to be X, Y, as opposed to just that functionality. And I'm actually really supported by 2 brilliant nurses as well, in terms of the kind of nursing from a digital platform, and that they recognise the importance of that. So I know that when they're out in practice teaching nurses, doctors and others about the digital platforms and how we might use them in practice, they have got the patient at the heart of it and communication at the heart of it. So I feel very confident that they're going to be that kind of voice in terms of making that happen. But we absolutely can't take our eye off the ball and think that this is just the way it can go.